Hi there, I'm SR Coder, and this is part 5 of my MLAPI tutorial. In this one, we're going to be setting up a simple first-person controller that I'll supply with you, and we're going to set that up so that it works exactly like a network player. So as you can see from what you see on your screen, I've got one player moving around, we've got some network transforms going across so it's synchronized across the network, and I've got a host on one side and the connected client on the other. So yep. Stick with the video and happy coding. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get your scene set up and import your player. So first up, I'm just going to create a cube that's going to be the ground. I'm just going to call this ground. Just zoom into this and go into 3D so we can see what's going on. I'm going to reset this position as well, so it's just in the middle of the world. I'm going to make this I don't know, like 50 by 50 for now. And that's just going to act basically as my player. The next thing we want to, sorry, as my ground. The next thing I want to do is import the player. So I've included a link to this asset rather than go through the whole process of creating an entire player controller, which you can find anywhere on the internet. I'm assuming you're pretty capable of doing that. What you're going to do is import the asset that I've supplied for you so you can follow along, and we'll turn it into a first-person controller that's networked. So if you go to import package, custom package, mine's is called simple first-person controller, which is a Unity package, and as I said, I'll link that in the description, and just import absolutely everything. The folder that you'll see that's appeared, it contains simple first-person controller, and it's just got a simple player. You can drag that onto the scene, and you can actually test that out just by, if you hit play, you'll see that as you move right and left, it will move right and left, and as you move forward, backwards, right and left, it will move relative to the camera. Obviously we've got this main camera on the scene here, so if we untick that main camera for now, and this will default to the one that you're that is part of the player, you'll be able to just look around, and you can even jump. So that's the basics. We've got this in, but as you can see, it's a single player only, and we're going to use going to take a look at the code of this and turn this into a network ready player. So we can just remove this player from the scene and just make sure this main camera is re-enabled, and we'll just get this player onto the scene and sorry, look at the prefab of this player and just start working with it. So the top level object for any network player has to have the network object component added to it. What we'll also do is we'll add a network transform so that we're able to see the position and movement, and we can leave all these values as default and everything should work fine. While we're still here, is the main camera actually moves up and down, and so if we want to be able to kind of like see that movement, what we can do is drag the cube, which is the sort of the visor element right there. We'll just drag that onto the main camera there, so we can see what's happening as the main camera moves up and down. This cube will also move up and down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to this main camera, I'm going to add a network transform. And this is a really cool, neat feature inside of MLAPI where you can have children network transforms, almost as many as you want, and everything will just get synchronized across the network, which makes it awesome. So the connected clients will see these moving up and down as well, just without you having to write any code for it. So the next important thing, obviously, is getting this code changed. So we have this first-person controller script. We're just going to open up this first-person controller script. This is what does all of the magic in here. It's not really Flash. It's just got a few tweakable values. It's got some gravity. It's got a minimum and maximum pitch and some mouse sensitivity values. And I've just broken it down so that we have an update function that does two simple things. It does the look function. It does the look method, and then it does the move method. And what that allows me to do is allows me to selectively do that whether when we're a network object or when we're not a network object. Alright, so let's just get started. We're going to add using Unity MLAPI at the top, and then turn this into a network behavior instead of a mono behavior. This allows us to have access to the local player. So if if we are the local player. So this if is local player is visible in anything that's a network behavior. Then we want to enable this character controller. So I'm going to take this in here. I'm going to leave this one. I'm actually going to leave this so that it's done for both, because we actually need to disable that camera if we're not the local player. So we've got this else in here, and we'll just say camera transform dot game object. So if the game object attached to that camera transform is if we're not the local player, then we'll make it disabled, and that'll disable both the camera and the audio listener that comes with it. Tidy that up a bit. So the next step there would be to selectively move if we are the local player, and not if we are not the local player. So again, it's just an if is local player, pretty simple. And then we'll do both look and move. So just copy paste those straight into here. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. What we could do is we just return if we're not the local player. But we're going to build some code later on, so we're going to want to do some stuff if we're a connected client. So I'll just leave the rest of that as it is, because that just does the look and the move only if we're the local player. So it's probably time to test that and make sure it works. So the network manager is where we have our default player, and previously we had this test cube. So obviously we've changed it, so we need to put the new player onto the new default player prefab. And I did quickly test this and it all went horribly wrong. And part of the reason is that if we just go to the connection manager for a second, what we've done with the connection manager is we've got this get random spawn. Unfortunately, it gets a random Y value as well, and we definitely don't want that. We want to be able to say that it's on the ground, so we'll just maybe make this value 2. That way it will get a random X and a random Z, but it will keep the random the Y value to be 2, so it will be on that plane when it spawns in. Hopefully, if we can just save that all up, just make sure it's all saved, and just jump back to here, and then we'll quickly test it. I'll put both of these, I think, side by side so that we can see what's happening. So this one should probably try to reload unless it's already got it. So let's just run this and see what happens. So running this one, we've got the host on this side. You can see we've got the player moving around, and if I go across to this side, activate that, and click on join, you see that we're actually moving around. So we've got this situation where we've got we're able to kind of like move about, and we can see it across the network. So it's a pretty good start, but we've got a little error down the bottom that we should probably try and work out what that is. The error that you see is the fact that there's 2 audio listeners on the scene. And it's not that there's 2 clients or 2 connected clients on the scene. We managed to switch one of those off because you could see that the cameras were working correctly for both of those. But we do have this main camera, this scene camera that we have, and that doesn't get disabled when we launch in, so we can easily do that. So I've got the connection UI, it's got the connection manager on there. I'll just quickly grab the a reference to that camera so we can switch it out when we try to connect. So just make it public camera, that way we won't be able to put the wrong type of thing on, and we'll call it let's call it lobby camera. And then when we try to host, when we've set the connection panel inactive, we can also set the lobby camera inactive too. So we can say lobby camera dot game object dot set active, and make it false if I can spell. And we'll need to do that also when we connect as a client. So when they try to join, we'll also disable that, and assuming that the joining goes correctly, everything should work. So once again, let's just quickly test that and make sure that it works. in the connection UI game object, it should have now this lobby camera. We just drag lobby camera down onto there, and just make sure everything is saved. Then when I click over here, it should reload, so that same change gets carried across to the clone. And let's just quickly try one more time. So we've got hosting on this left hand side, play on the right, and join as a client on the right. And you'll see that we spawned in 2 different positions, and we are moving around, no worries. So there is one tiny minor issue in that for some reason the players have got this main camera disabled, but because it's got the cube on it, it's also disabled that cube. So I wonder if there's a better way that we can do this. If we, instead of having the cube moving up and down, we would just disable this the main camera object. What we could actually do is disable the audio listener and the camera components, and then that way you would see the transform of this cube as the player looks up and down. Now, I hope you don't mind me kind of leaving my mistakes in here. I think it's quite good to be able to see those mistakes and see how to solve them. So the issue is that we set the whole object disabled, but we want to just set particular components. We do have a handle to the camera transform up here, so we should be able to get those components. So if we use camera transform dot get component, and I know this is a bit circuitous, but we'll go with it anyway. We'll say we'll just say enabled equals false. So what we're doing is, gosh, I'm having trouble with spelling today. What we're doing is just disabling specific components. So again, we have this camera transform dot get component. We want to also disable the audio listener as well. So audio listener, and again, it's just exactly the same as before. So enabled equals false, and you find yourself doing this quite a bit with the network programming, because you want certain components on at certain times and not at others. So I'll just give myself a quick comment so we can be sure what's going on. So once again, let's just have a little check to see if that does work. So I'm running on host on the left hand side, and he comes in no problem. Over on the right here, just run this one, and we should connect up as a client. Okay, and now you can see that we've got the little visor, and as the client is looking up and down, the transform is synchronized across the network, so you can see it moving on this left hand side, and you can see this guy moving around pretty good. I found that MLAPI, the actual network transforms work out the box, work really, really well, and it's pretty slick and smooth, at least when you're working across local network. They seem to work pretty good. So that's the absolute basics of getting a character controller working, and what you need to do to get that working across the network, and you can see it worked pretty well. So yeah, stick with the series. I hope you're enjoying it so far. In the next ones, we're going to be looking at trying to get some health and respawns and sorting out those spawn points so that we've got slightly different spawns, and we'll maybe look into shooting in the near one. So please like and subscribe and stick with the series, and yeah, good luck with your coding, and happy networking.